Hey guys, this is Lynx. I'm giving you a living room sore throat realness today. The bedroom in the wintertime, once the heat starts coming on, it gets really dry. And this is like the first year in a while without a humidifier, and it is destroying me. But anyhow, that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about today is careers. Yes, careers. Um, and hopefully, you guys can learn from my mistake and make better choices for yourself. So, first, I'm going to start with I know that there are people out there who don't have jobs. You know what I mean? People out there who can't get jobs. People, and I should be counting myself lucky for having a job, and not just a job, but a well-paying job. But a little bit of history, and you can just take my story and go from there. Working on, I think I'm working on 6 years now in Boston. I think it's about 6 years. It's either 5 or 6, one or the other. But before that, I lived in New York City. And in New York, I was always able to find jobs that were graphic design jobs, graphics jobs, multimedia jobs, mixed with some IT stuff in there. So I'm an artist, and that allowed me to get that creative part of me out. And it was, some places didn't work out too well, some places worked out great. I had two great jobs that I absolutely loved. And one was working for Digirum. I stayed there for a couple of years, actually, living in New York City. I stayed there for a couple of years. I was director of multimedia. I basically put together interactive DVDs, interactive CDs, did graphics work for labels for DVDs and CDs. They were basically a replication place that offered mastering services and graphic services. And then once I came along, video and multimedia services. So there was like a lot of taking movies and just preparing them for DVD, exporting them to the proper formats, making master discs, creating menus, stuff like that. A lot of fun. A lot of stuff that I no longer have. Circumstances kind of suck. Um, and he ended up selling that business to a woman. I am not going to name who she is. I'm not going to name her company, but she was a lesbian, and I thought, hey, we're family. We're going to get along great. And then I kind of saw the way that she was treating uh, those of us who stayed, and I wasn't happy with it. So I did everything in my power to get her to fire me so that way I could get unemployment and call it a day because I was done. I had been at that place for 4 years and worked with her for, I believe, another year. And or was it 3 years and worked for her for another year? All I know is that I was there for years, and it was more than just two. Now, people are like, well, maybe it's just you. No, it wasn't just me. Think about it this way. My old boss, as a show of appreciation, bought me a wind tunnel Mac. It was the mirrored disc doors. Back when he bought it for me, that was the top of the line Mac. And come on, you don't do that for an employee who's a piece of shit. But I really couldn't handle her anymore. If you were a guy that didn't submit, she went off the deep end with you, and that was just that, and I wasn't about it. So I had left that job, and then I started working at a place called K&D Wines and Spirits. This is a place that existed since Moses parted the Red Sea. That's how long the place had been in New York City and operating and everything else. I worked there doing all their graphics work, but also doing all their tech support work. So when I got sick of one thing, I was able to just hop to another. When I got sick of that, hop back. You know what I mean? It worked out very well. Me and the owners were the only people who were actually above me, which was fantastic. I worked directly under them. They were great. I learned a lot about wine. I handled things like if we had wine tastings, I basically designed the layout of the wine tasting, the color schemes, stuff like that. I redesigned their website for sales. I handled all of their email advertisements, all of their print advertisements, package design. We redesigned the wine boxes that we would package wines in for delivery during Christmas. I redesigned those boxes. They looked great. You know, ads and papers. I did a lot of that, but I also supported their technology. It was all run on Macs. There was the point of sale system. I took care of that. I took care of the database for the point of sale system, along with the database of all of the inventory. So, like, I was kind of instrumental during inventory because it was just like nobody else knew how to input that data. And there I am just popping in. So, I love that job, and I stayed there for, I think, 2 years before I left New York City. And then tragedy struck, and I had to leave New York City. My boss at Candy Wines and Spirits was really pissed about the fact that I had to leave New York City because we got along great and the work was great and we enjoyed just working, and that was fantastic. But I left there, I moved up here, and I had to start over from scratch. I think I had my last paycheck with me, my clothes, and my computer. That was all I had. And I think my last paycheck had a little bit of my Christmas bonus in there. I'm not gonna even trip on that because my old boss did right by me in terms of my leaving and showing me how he appreciated me. So I came up here with one friend, no job, and I got the first job that I could get. My best friend got me a job working for Blue, and that was a club on Water Street in Worcester. And I worked as a bouncer, which the money was horrible, the hours were horrible. I couldn't afford food and rent, let alone anything else. My best friend really took care of me during those times, and it was really difficult for me to just try and find my way, find a job and that I could do because I had no car. I lived in New York City. You don't drive in New York City. You drive in New York City, you're an idiot. At least if you live there. You don't live in New York City and then drive, whatever. So I had no license. I had no car. How was I going to even get back and forth to Boston to try and find a gig? And then one day I get a call from Apple. From my understanding, they spoke with Richie because they found my resume online. They spoke with him. He talked me up, and they called me and was just like, "Look," and I think I was about 6 months in, 6 months into living here, yeah. And they were just saying, "Hey, do you want a job?" We spoke to who we needed to speak to. Do you want a job? They flew me out to California, and the job was not in graphics, but was as a genius. So it's like, okay, I know Max. I've been supporting them for a couple of years. I used them all the time. Not a problem. They sent me on over to California, trained me up really nice, got me certified. I came back and I worked at the flagship store on Boylston Street, the Fishbowl. It's just all glass, everything. And I worked there for a little over a year. My problem with that job was that I'm 30 something, I'm not 20 something. And given that I'm 30 something, not 20 something, they wanted me to work 20 something retail hours. So I could be working closing one night and opening the very next day. I had no social life. It was horrible. And don't get it twisted. I actually liked doing the work because it was kind of like being on YouTube or kind of like being on a stage. I'm in front of all these people and I have to perform, and I'm sitting there. My thing was helping 5 or 6 people all at the same time. Yeah, you heard me, all at the same time, while keeping everyone entertained and keeping the flow going. And I enjoyed that. I did not enjoy the hours. The pay was good. I did not enjoy the hours at all. So I ended up leaving there, realizing that tech support is my strong suit right now. Graphics is not. I don't have a portfolio. I don't have an online portfolio because I couldn't afford to do it. I I had nothing to prove myself as a graphic designer. So I just stuck with tech support. So I worked at the other place, left Apple for another job. They had offered me the job. They were paying me more money and giving me big boy hours. It was 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, regular holidays. The weekends were off. I was fine. And I figured, well, I'm just going to work this until I find exactly what I'm looking for. I just can't, I can't sit here and do tech support all my life. I hate doing this. And I hate it because you're dealing with entitled people and, you know, frustrated people who are frustrated at the machine but want to take it out on you, and they're calling you for help. You know what I mean? It's like if you're going to call me for help, you should probably, I understand that you're upset, but bring that shit down a notch. Why? Cuz I'm a person just like you are, and I've been working a hard ass day just like you have. The last thing you would want is to just have somebody call you up on your job and cuss you out. So, I was just that's why I don't like, that's one of the big things I don't like about tech support. And I knew I couldn't stay, not in tech support. But this other place, who I'm not going to name because they're still around, whatever, whatever. This other place saw, fit to actually have me start training as an accounts manager, getting me off of the phones, having me work with clients and stuff like that in a manner that was not tech support, which was very different because I wasn't working with the general population at a company. I was working with one or two people at that company. And that made things much easier for me. And things were starting to go a little well. I had my troubles with a couple of people at the other location, which was actually all the way out in Colorado. But aside from that, I was at least moving up. And I was going to be under different management. And being under different management, that I was going to be happier. And then they sold the company to some other company that wanted to merge everything out into Colorado. The only people who were staying in Boston were people who were going to do field tech support. So they wanted me to move to Colorado. This isn't my dream job. If it was my dream job, I would have been like, yes, I'm moving to Colorado, not a problem. But I, eh, you know. So I worked out a way with them for me to be able to give them 90 days notice, train whoever needed to be trained to do my job, because I was also the only one of two Mac techs, and the other Mac tech actually went to work somewhere else. So within the company, so he wasn't even doing Macintosh support anymore. I was the only Mac tech that they had. I was willing to train people to get them up to speed to be able to do that job, train any replacements that they might have, and all they needed to do was not contest my unemployment. So that way I could still receive unemployment benefits while I look for another job. Because they wanted an answer like now, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing field support. I'm not going to go from management to sub-management, and I'm definitely not going to move to Colorado. But they liked me, they worked with me, and they decided, yeah, it's a good deal. Why have me go to Colorado and be miserable? Why have me stay here and be miserable? Why have me just walk out now when I'll stick around, train who needs to be trained, and everybody walks out the victor? Starting to get a little dark. Jesus, I hate daylight savings time. So after all that was said and done, I ended up going to a temp agency because Skeeter's brother was moving out. Because with Skeeter's brother here, we had no problems with money because he was paying us rent and whatever. There was no problem. But with him leaving and me, because I was going to go back to school to learn something else, to learn a different trade, because I did not want to go back into tech support. I was staunchly against going back into tech support. So I was going to go back to school. But then Skeeter's brother moved out, and it was like, fuck, shit, I have to get a job. Now, it's not like I absolutely needed to get a job, but I can't not have a job. I can't do it. Like, I can't be a housewife. I'd never be happy being a housewife. Um, so I decided, all right, I have to go back to tech support. I can't go to school right now. We're getting ready to lose a chunk of income. I can't go back to school. Not full time, and I'm definitely not going to work full time and go to school. No, not doing that either. I'm 30 something years old. And I don't have the patience for it, and I don't have the energy for it. I was either going to go to school or I was going to work. circumstances stated I needed to go back to work. So I did. And I found this temp company that got me in with the place I'm at now. And I've been here for over a year. They hired me full time. I'm currently working as a tech lead. So I worked my way up, but I don't see any possible way for me to go any higher where I am. I'm dealing with entitled people on the phones. It's a very grueling schedule. I mean, it's grueling work because there's not a lot of us there to handle the volume or who can handle the volume. So it's a lot of burnout. It really is a lot of burnout. And I mean, my schedule is, pretty okay. I get out at 7:30, but shit, I gotta be there by. I get out at 3:30, but I gotta be there by 7:30, which means I'm up wicked early, but I get a lot of time afterwards. So I mean, that's a double-edged sword. But I'm really just not happy with what I'm doing. How did I get stuck in this? Well, I was always an okay artist, and people would just say, wow, you should do that for a living. I was always excellent with computers. That was just like taking anything apart, putting it back together, troubleshooting, fixing, breaking, whatever. I've always had a natural aptitude for computers. My aptitude for computers trumped my aptitude for art. And everyone would say, you can make a lot of money doing that. You need to do that for a living. That's what you got to do. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. So instead of choosing for myself what I needed to do, I did what other people told me I should do. I never stopped to think that, computers are something that I enjoy as a hobby. What's going to happen once I make that hobby my job? Art is what I like to do, but what is going to happen once art becomes my job? Because I tell you, after a while, you start running out of ideas, and you find yourself recycling old layouts and old ideas and old whatever because you can't think of anything else. You done tapped yourself dry, and then and of course with tech support, Jesus Christ. Ugh. Now, I think I would be happier maybe if I was in security or something like that. Like if I had to stay in technology, I wouldn't mind working for a security team or something like that, but I need to get certifications for it. And those certifications are expensive. I can't afford them, even with getting paid as well as I am getting paid. I cannot afford those certifications. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I got myself stuck in a situation in which I don't like what I'm doing. There's no joy that comes out of it. The only benefit I'm getting from it is money and benefits like health insurance, you know. But that's all I'm getting out of it. I'm getting no fulfillment out of it whatsoever. It pains me when I have to go in. But what do you do? I knew what I was getting into, like even before they hired me, they said, "Are you sure that you want to do this? Your resume has you higher than this." But they weren't hiring anything higher than this. This was my way in. But now that I'm in, I'm stuck where I'm at. There's a new supervisor already, new manager already. Those people aren't going to leave anytime soon. They're not going anywhere. They're cemented. So I'm not gonna. And then there's a whole rule of no poaching. You can't have one department take somebody from somebody else's. They see it as kind of shady. So even trying to get into another department is proving very difficult. And I kind of feel like I need a change. Like I need a different career. I need something else to do with my life. But now here I am at 30 something trying to start over. And that's ridiculous. Not only is it ridiculous, it's childish, it's immature. I never took the time to grow up in that sense. I did what other people told me I should do, as opposed to doing that soul searching you're supposed to do as a teenager and find out exactly what it is that you want to do with the rest of your life. If somebody had ever asked me, I had no clue. What do I want to do with the rest of my life? I don't know. I'm good at talking. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. Yeah, right. I'm no good at following laws. Neither are they really, but whatever. Oh, hey, maybe I'll be a doctor. Mm-mm. No, I will throw up all over the damn place. I'm not about it. Maybe I'll be a this. None of those things ever came to my mind, and it would have been a blank stare because I had no clue, none. So I say all that to say this: what you have to do is figure out exactly what it is that you want to do and how to make money with it, and that's what you should be going to college to figure out: how to make money with the thing that you want to do. You know, and some people think you need college, and you really don't. Because if you are passionate about something, you can learn anything that you'll do whatever it takes to learn it. Don't do it at 30 something. Do it at 19, 17, 18. Because when you're 30 something and you become accustomed to having a certain amount of money to do a certain amount of things and whatever else, the very prospect of changing that is terrifying. But yeah, the very prospect is terrifying. And then you kind of sort of realize that unless a miracle happens, you're stuck where you are, or you're stuck doing tech support, or, well, I'm stuck doing tech support. I'm stuck where I am. And even if I were to try and say, leave the place because the place is no longer what I signed up for, and that is really the biggest thing for where I am. I started and the place was under different management, and I went with an expectation, with a whole idea in my head that was exactly what it was up until that change in management. And now, uh, uh, not good. So even if I were to say that I can't stay here anymore, the next place I go to is still going to be tech support. I'm still going to be doing the same bullshit that I'm doing now, that I can't stand doing. So, like, think long and hard. Don't let somebody else choose your career for you. Think long and hard about what it is you want to do for a living, and then you go out and do it. Don't waste time. Don't waste time doing what other people say you should do. I wasted time, and now here I am trying to figure my way out of it. Not a good look, sweetie. Not a good look. And I'm too old for that shit. Really. So, that's it. I hope someone can get something out of the story that they heard. It's been fucking 23 minutes of a story to hear. You guys don't watch the sun go down behind me. Um, Hopefully my throat will be feeling better tomorrow, which I'm sure it will be because it's got to be just about the dry room. And yeah, share, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. At Lynx Bear. You can find me on Facebook as Brutal Lynx Bear. And don't forget to check out brutallynx.com. So, hope everybody has a great week.